Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Royce.
I'm Matt.
We're finally here to talk about the new movie Dune, the latest adaptation of the... Who wrote the novel? I can't remember his name.
Frank Herbert.
Frank Herbert's Dune was a sci-fi classic. And the newest film stars Timothée Chalamet, who else? Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, Javier Bardem, Stellan Skarsgård, Zendaya, Rebecca Ferguson.
Oh, she was great.
Mother. Yes.
Yeah.
Very mother. What did you think?
Well, first of all, Royce, you might recall my comments on the last film. Watching the 1984 film, I remember I was thinking the whole time, wow, this is a shocking film, but there's a really good book suffocating underneath it. So what did I do? I read the book.
Oh.
I did. I read the book. I couldn't put it down. It was
good.
An amazing book. Yes, I can see why science fiction was propelled forward the way that it was in the late 20th century. A lot of it comes from Dune, I think.
Right, wow.
I really liked the new movie. Which you don't find out until the movie starts, is Dune Part 1.
Yes, very optimistic of them to label it that, because at the time the sequel was not confirmed. It was very much like we'll play it by ear. Yes. And thankfully it's worked out, and it's probably, a furious campaign of people on Twitter going like, this is amazing, go watch it. Primarily people in the industry who are fans of science fiction, like Patton Oswalt and all that stuff. But yeah, it's really good, and I think for a layman like myself, who had only seen the original film and shortly before it came out, shortly before this new one came out, I should say, I'm not that old. Going in, it explains things a lot clearer. It makes things a lot clearer. I think the original did some things better, particularly like the Doctor character who, sort of lets the Harkonnens in. Their setup there was better. I think the music, the themes and that in the original was amazing, and it's quite good here.
It's different. Something you don't really get in the 84 movie, that I think you do get in the new movie, that comes from the book, is the Muslim influence.
Yes.
On the Fremen and their religion and everything. Like, Lisan al-Gaib and Shai Hulud, these are, Arabic words.
Yeah.
And I think Hans Zimmer, who is a genius, some people say bad things about the effect that his music has had on the rest of the film industry's music, and sometimes I'd agree. Hans Zimmer, who revolutionized film music, I'd say, in The Dark Knight and Batman Begins by making Batman's theme 2 notes. Genius.
Yeah.
But now everyone's doing minimalism badly.
I think he's really stripped down to ultra minimalism, because it sort of feels like he makes moods as opposed to themes.
Yes, textures over melodies.
Yeah, rather than like a big bombastic, this is the theme of Dune. Like Toto's 1984 was like that, just grand sweeping epic thing. And you sort of, it complements what's happening rather than flooding it, I guess. Yeah,
and they do different things. Like the version, the Toto theme, which I can never remember it, but as soon as I hear it, I'm like, yes.
Yes.
It really helps to communicate the epic feeling of the story in a way that lots of epic music doesn't actually do. Howard Shore's Lord of the Rings score does that pretty well.
Yes.
But the new music, Hans Zimmer's music, uses lots of microtonal vocal lines and really interesting. This is going to be horrendously broad strokes of me, but Eastern styles of music. Sorry for people who know better what they're talking about than me.
Mongolian throat singing.
There was a bit of that.
Mongolian, yeah.
There was a bit of that. Just I'm more thinking of that really harsh, awesome female lead, like that stuff. That was absolutely incredible, and I saw it in Village Premium. So there was a bit more sub in the bass, and so it's that combined with these huge orchestral and synth drums. stunning. So I wouldn't say the music is better or worse than the Toto score. It's just different. And it really helps to communicate the Muslim influence. And given that the story of Dune is actually meant to have come from our history, like it is set in our future, and it does something interesting that lots of science fiction that's set in the future doesn't do, is it actually sets it 10,000 years in the future. So as opposed to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was set 50 years after it was made.
Very optimistic.
Obviously, we've seen 2001, the real year, and it was nothing like the movie. Probably no one who's read or seen Dune is going to be alive in the year 10,191. So it's still quite believable that it could happen. What was I talking about? Sorry.
Well, you're talking about, how it draws from, I guess, an Earth history.
Influence. Yes.
But also, the Atreides theme has like bagpipes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which super European, super white.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think the scene I loved this is something that the David Lynch film didn't really do, although it did do a little bit, but the scenes on Caladan, the Atreides' home planet, everything was soaked the whole time. It was always raining. People were always slicking back their hair, and huge. I think it was shot on the fjords of Norway or Denmark. The scenes on Caladan.
It's got that look to it, eh?
Yeah, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then when you do get to Arrakis, I can't remember where that was shot. Was it shot in Tuscany?
Probably, yeah.
This absolutely dry, and something I really loved.
Tunisia, probably, you mean.
Tunisia.
Tuscany's Italian.
Oh,
yeah,
obviously.
It's very green fields and olives.
Well, it wasn't shot there then.
No, it's probably somewhere like Morocco or, Tunisia, something like that.
When the Atreides land and get out onto Arrakis, I was expecting they'd open it in big yellow sand dunes and stuff. But the door opened and it was just blinding white.
Yeah.
And that's how it would be.
Yeah. It is very sort of washed out, I feel. It's colourful, but it's not vibrant.
No.
It's not like super saturated. It's sort of like toned down a little. So I guess when it does become really colourful in moments, it stands out more. I did get I get a bit of feeling of especially Rogue One. Some imagery in that sort of appears here or is reminiscent of that. And I mean, Dune is, of course, super influential upon everything from Star Wars to anything that came afterwards. So now for it to be getting such a lavish adaptation quite late in the game in comparison to the stuff that was influenced by it.
Yes.
But see it realised, I guess, fully.
I think part of the reason is that the book is so high concept. And, you get a movie like Star Wars, which is essentially dogfights in space. It's just people love World War II movies. Let's just put them in space. That's what that was. And that's why that worked. It was fun. You could forgive some lame special effects here and there. Even though the original Star Wars, most of the special effects are still excellent. You can forgive a bad special effect here if you're laughing and having fun the whole time. Whereas Dune is really serious and it's really moody and you have to think while you're watching it. And if the production's not great, which it could not have been in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even the 2000 miniseries, even though that was made on a British television budget. I tried to watch that as well. I couldn't get through. Couldn't get through it. It was really bad. Let's talk about some of the actors in it.
Oh, yeah. Well, just very quickly to wrap up with the special effects side. I think the 1980s one was sort of a triumph in the way it used miniatures and just clever. That's one thing I guess that makes the original Star Wars so impressive compared to now is that they actually built like the Death Star and the Star Destroyer, and you see all of that as well with the David Lynch one. And now, I mean, you can do amazing things
in the computer.
In the computer, and also just miniatures can be made so much easier. So, on a technical scale, the 80s one is, I guess, quite impressive still to this day, but obviously things just look so much better now, and it's a full realization of what was never before possible. Cast wise, sorry.
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't compare the visual effects of the two, because it's just not fair.
Yeah.
In terms of understanding the book, I think this one, the new one, definitely gets it better.
Yeah, for sure. as someone who's never read it.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, you said to me just off the cuff that you had watched the first one and been really like, what? And then you watched the new one and you're like, oh, it's a trade dispute.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you can really understand what's happening in the book and then communicate it easily, like you shouldn't have to have read a book to understand the film that's based on it. You should be able to watch the film as its own thing.
Agreed.
So that's one thing that the new movie has over the old one. Another thing the new movie has over the old one is that Timothée Chalamet could believably be 15 years old.
Yes.
He did a really good job as Paul Atreides. Paul, who is quite an unusual antagonist because...
Protagonist.
Yes, protagonist.
Yes.
Because he's really cerebral to the point where he can be quite cold. But he still has to be likable somehow. And I think Timothée Chalamet really struck that balance really well.
I think the supporting cast does him well as well. I mean, like Lady Jessica, Rebecca
Yes.
Ferguson, and Duke Leto, played by Oscar Isaac's dad. Yeah, it's
Yeah, showing him having Jason Momoa's Duncan, Idaho.
Yes,
Especially having these characters where it's obvious that they all love each other. It does really help.
Yeah, it's like it strengthens the bond between them and makes stronger characters, I think, as a whole. Where, you know, no one person is just carrying the film. If, you know, Paul is quite indecipherable at times, you know, or he's sort of a bit removed. And I guess having him have such a emotional reaction when a character dies is quite different to the Kyle MacLachlan version. And
I think Kyle MacLachlan didn't understand the material.
It's weird because he said that he was a massive fan, and it could just be the direction of Lynch, you know.
It might be.
It could, you know, the chopping up of the original idea that Lynch had.
Yes.
You know, all those voiceovers were not part of the original. So
Yes.
yeah.
I really loved Rebecca Ferguson as Jessica. She didn't cry nearly as much as in the original film. Which, I mean, crying isn't a bad thing, but it's generally not someone's response to everything.
Yeah.
I don't think. And she also really struck the balance of being a very intellectual, calculating person while also kind of being at odds with that because she's also very emotional. You know, she goes against her better judgment for her emotions and stuff while still being able to be very intelligent.
Yes. Yeah.
Really good.
Like, you can actually say what her character is, whereas with the original one, it was kind of a bit like... I sort of struggled to think, which is a shame to say, what her character was, what her deal was within the story.
Yes.
Speaking of runtimes, just very quickly as well, similar runtimes for both these films.
I think the new one's a bit longer, isn't it?
Yeah. But they both sort of reached the same point within the story at about the same time, which kind of had me thinking, okay, what are we going to do now with this new one? Are we going to fly through it? And I haven't read the book, so I don't know what the full story is, and I know that, you know, I guess the first 2 hours of the Lynch film is kind of very similar to the book up to a point, and then it just fly through the rest of it. So I kind of went into this new one expecting the same deal and sort of thinking this part 2 was going to be the rest of the trilogy, like it was going to be one larger story, but it seems as though it's just a part of this one book. Like,
Yes.
it's going to be the rest of the book.
Yes, which I think is good. It's because it's such a dense text.
Yeah, I wonder what's coming.
Well, what was interesting is, you remember how at the end of the new film, a character called Jameis challenged Paul to a fight, and Paul won, not wanting to kill him, but obviously he had to. In the book, that doesn't happen until they've already spent a number of days with the Fremen, learning their ways.
Gosh.
So I'm curious as to why they chose to move that to the point where they did.
Yeah. I guess for like a final confrontation, in a way.
Maybe.
Yeah.
To end with Paul, like, proving himself to the Fremen. I think they handled Paul's visions much better in this film as well.
Yeah.
They were much clearer, and his thought processes were much clearer as well, without the need for clunky, echoey voiceovers.
Yeah. We're sort of going compare the pair here a bit.
We are, but it's hard not to.
Yeah. Which... Yeah, for someone who's new, just going to this new film, and you should be able to understand it well enough.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have had to have read the book. You shouldn't have had to have seen the original. Forget the original exists and just go into this new one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original one was sort of let down by having multiple characters having voiceovers. With the voice in the original one, I was kind of thinking that Paul's voiceovers were a sign of that.
Mm-hmm.
Until, Max von Sydow's character starts having them as well. It's kind of breaks the continuity in a way where you're hearing every character's voiceovers.
Yeah.
And, this one handles it much clearer.
Yeah,
there's a distinction between the two. And things are different as well, where the character which he fought and killed at the end of this film, he's having visions of and having like a friendship with, which doesn't pan out. So it sort of casts doubt over the rest of the premonitions he's had.
Yeah.
Or sort of made me think, is he seeing other people through other people's eyes? Is he seeing things through others' eyes?
Well, in the book, because did you also see those bits where there was a holy war being fought for him that he was having visions of? The point is that he can see what could happen.
Yeah.
And he can try to avoid that. Like his creation as the Kwisatz Haderach was meant to happen the next generation. So the Bene Gesserit, who manipulated all the bloodlines and stuff to create this super being who could go where they couldn't mentally. They didn't anticipate it happening when it did, because Jessica gave Leto a son. So yeah, the Bene Gesserit training and the seeing visions and stuff, it's all about seeing what could happen. So yeah, when he also sees him hanging out with Duncan, Jason Momoa's character, with the Fremen, but then of course
never happens.
Duncan dies. So yeah,
we're going full spoilers here. It's been out for a while, this film, so...
Oh, did you want to not be spoiling?
Oh, no. I just thought, people are listening in on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
But it's been out for a while.
It has been out for a while. Over a month.
Yeah. Well over a month, yeah. The Harkonnens. Harkonnens.
Yes, the Harkonnens. Really interesting. Really interesting. No version of the Baron has got him correct, I don't think. Even just visually. They all have... All the visual versions have him...
As opposed to just hovering, yeah.
No, he doesn't even hover. He walks. He's just so fat that he needs these suspensors to carry his stomach.
Sort of like those things toddlers would have, like those suspended
chairs.
Yes,
it's exactly like that.
Yeah.
He is described as monstrously fat, weighing well over 300 kilograms, but his legs only carry 50. But one thing that was quite interesting that they did with Stellan Skarsgård's version is to give him a long robe so that when he does float, he looks like a snake.
Yeah.
Which was very cool.
That was creepy as hell, seeing that just extend.
Yeah. And he was very creepy as well. He was, yes, and Dave Bautista as Raban, his nephew, was also really good, quite aggressive, which is really great. No fade. Sting's character.
Yet,
no. In the book, he was introduced in the second chapter.
Right.
So, interesting. I'm sure he'll have to be in the next movie.
Yeah. I suppose there was a lot to establish, and now that the world is set up, they can go and introduce a new character like that. Someone who could have been off-world, someone who could have just been, waiting in the wings.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see. Or maybe they just thought they couldn't compete with Sting.
Yeah. Sting was terrible.
I sort of wish there was a David Lynch cameo in this one. Same character, just play the exact same character
with
on the mining vessel.
Up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am out here mining for you the spice.
Was David Lynch in his movie?
Yeah, he was the guy on the
that's funny.
on the refinery, yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. The worms. I think you feel more of an impact. I felt more of an impact, at least, with the original movie.
Did you?
Yeah, because I guess you sort of get the full majesty, and they're sort of kept at a distance, and then it's sort of like, boom, worm, when they do show up. But also, I sort of feel like, looking back at the trailers, some of the greatest hits were shown in that trailer. Like the attack of the Harkonnens on the Atreides, settlement, not settlement, but facilities, and the Baron rising up above his followers, and the worm. It's all there. And then it's sort of, you go into the film and you're like, oh, they did sort of show the highlights of the film in the trailer. which is a shame.
Yeah.
Very strange decision on that part.
Well, that's what trailers usually do, which is a shame.
Yeah.
Like, there's some classic trailers. Like, have you seen the trailer for Back to the Future? You have?
Yeah, I've seen a few.
It's just Michael J. Fox sitting in the DeLorean chewing gum, and then this woman comes up to him and goes, how far are you going? And he goes, 30 years, and then he zooms off and it's Back to the Future, and that's the trailer.
Not seen that one. I had seen the one where it's like, are you saying my mum has the hearts for me or something like that? That was something apparently with Back to the Future, which we've never actually talked about on the show before. The executives wanted to make a big deal about his mum having the hots for him. Yeah. Bit strange.
It's a funny part of the story. But
it is, yeah, but it's not.
It's
not the hook of the story.
No, it's not.
No. Anyway, final thoughts about Dune.
I really loved it, and I can't wait for the next part.
It's been a long time coming. It's sort of like, obviously delayed because of COVID. So hopefully they can get around to making this new one soon enough.
They're starting to shoot in July this year, I think.
Oh, that's cool. That's good.
So we should get it next year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dune will be coming out at home media very soon. Soon enough, anyway.
Hope so.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm Royce.
I'm Matt.
And we'll see you next time. Bye for now. Enjoy the music.